All right, cool. We are recording. So thanks for watching the Make Guitar podcast, and we have Steve with us again.
Howdy.
Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
Wonderful. Having a great day.
Excellent. How you doing, Mitch?
I think I'm doing pretty good. I got a few projects done this week. I ordered some new circuit boards and they came in the mail, but now I'm just waiting on parts.
Always waiting
So-
on parts.
Which is always like the frustration when you want to build stuff. You're like, okay, I got to collect all these things together to get something done, and you get some of the things, and then you can't really get started until you get all the things, right? So I'm just waiting on Tida, shaking my fist at their slow mailing.
Terrible.
Actually, Steve, you had mentioned that you're not really using Tida. Who do you get your like resistors and pots and all that from now?
So I'm getting most everything from Stompbox Parts, which is based in America. Their prices are more than Tater, but there are some. The big trade-off is if I order it before 1 Pacific, it's in the mail the same day. So if I order on a Monday, I've usually got it by Thursday. And
That's
so I think that's way better. So the just as a comparison, like 100 resistors from Tater is $1. I'm out of space to store 100 resistors now. And like I have pretty much every resistor I will ever need. However, there's always that one time you need an odd value that you're never going to use again. And so 10 resistors from Stompbox Parts is $1, but I can store 10 resistors. I have space for 10 resistors. And so it's like that trade-off of, do I want to wait 2.5 weeks to get this? Or do I want to have it this week and have it done? And so I've been ordering from them for most stuff. Like I actually really prefer, now they only offer 2 colors of powder coating, which is 3. They offer like a rough black, they offer a white, and then like a smooth black. But I find the quality of their powder coating to be a little better than what I was getting at Tater. And one of the problems I'd had with Tater enclosures too was they would come to me and they would look fine, and then I would go, because I don't use their drilling service, I usually drill myself, and I would go to drill it and I'm looking at the top and it's not straight. Like it's dented, or it's like it's got a hump in it. And sometimes you put the back plate on and it's like a seesaw rocking because it's clearly come from a different pedal that it doesn't mate to this one. And I'm just like, most of the stuff I make is for my own personal use. I don't really sell anything to other people, but I couldn't sell that to somebody like that was all dented up. And of course, the one time where I get the hump in the top is when I'm trying to put 2 switches on. Because if it was just the one, it would be fine. It'd be right in the middle. It wouldn't hurt it. And I'm like, and of course, by that time I painted it, I drilled it. And then I'm like, oh yeah. So I've had some issues with their stuff. And I know I will shop from them again when I'm not desiring to get something out the door quick, or to make something that I need for something else. I'll definitely use them again because the cost of their parts is the best. But their powder coating just adds a week. Drilling adds like 5 days. And so if you just buy their stuff that isn't powder coated, it's no problem. But then I've had the same problems as I just discussed. And I don't know, but I love their knob choices. Like you can get these cool knobs from them for like 50 cents, 60 cents, something like that. And I love those knobs. They're really great. And there's even cheaper ones too.
That's from Stompbox Parts?
These ones are from Tater.
Oh,
Which knobs again?
Let me see if the ones I really like, do I have some here? I had a big bag of them. I can't find them now. Oh, here they are. They are called, it just says black knob, but they have like a little indexing point and a little silver top.
Oh, yeah. Those are good looking knobs. I like those. They got a classic, look like on your stereo from the 70s or something,
Yeah, and they're only I think they're 45 cents.
Oh, that's a deal.
So that's a total deal. But you can also get these from Stompbox Parts for 65 cents if you don't want to wait like 2 weeks or whatever it is to get it. So if you don't mind spending 20 cents, I think that's a good deal.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. Okay, so you brought up the cost, right? Well, actually, I was looking at Stompbox Parts right now, and they have op amps like the TL072 for 60 cents a piece, which sounds a little high. But I noticed Tida lately has those going for 79 cents, which I was like, that's way too much. You know, they should be cheaper. They should be a quarter.
And I feel like some of the parts at Tater are counterfeit. Like not all of them are what they say they are. Like if you try and get like a J201 or any kind of JFET from them, I'm pretty sure it's rebadged. It's not a legit one. And they're charging you what other people charge. So like, I don't know. I've just had some issues with their stuff. But this goes back to when they were FutureLec or whatever. You know, I had the same issues with stuff then. And of course, the other big reason to shop at Tater is the pot prices. And Stompbox Parts has pots for 60 cents too. And they come and they don't come with a dust cap on the back or whatever you call it. But I've just found the trade-off of saving 5 cents and 2 weeks. It's worth it for me to pay a little extra, support a guy who's doing amazing things in the pedal world, because it's Cusack pedals. It's his sort of side company, and I think it started when he bought all of Mammoth's old stock. I don't know if you remember Mammoth.
Yeah. I stopped there.
Yeah, it's funny. I was looking for an enclosure and I found one, and I took it apart, and it said, I don't know if you can read what it says inside there.
No, I can't quite read it.
It says Foresight.
Oh, Foresight. Yeah, I ordered from Foresight before.
That was Mammoth. That was their
yeah.
It's the same guys.
Like they're like commercial, not commercial, but like, you know, OEM manufacturer. You know, like, so if you were a business, you bought from Foresight, but if you were a consumer, you bought from Mammoth. You know. Right.
Yeah. But it just reminded me of all that stuff, and you know. Yeah, the other site I buy a lot from is I really love their selection of knobs. Is Love My Switches.
Oh yeah, I bought some stuff from them. I like, actually, they have these really cool little toggle switches with a little short arm.
The bat top, yeah.
Yeah, I like those, actually. Those are really cool. So I bought some of those. I got some switches on a project I was working on. They're kind of long because I got them from Tida. They're like these big long ones, and I put them on, and I was actually not happy. So I went and I paid a little more and got the little short nubby switches from Love My Switches.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, it's funny, the Love My Switches guy, his site used to be called Bitches
Love My Switches.
Well, and the funny thing is like a long time ago, I had put up a page that was just like Stompbox resources, you know, and it had links to different places. And he commented on my website saying like, hey, don't you give the bitches some love or something like that, you know, like, why am I not on your list? Like, so I put him on there because he was funny, you know. But yeah, they have really, you know, their prices are a little high, but they have good quality stuff, and the shipping is like immediate. They just like send it off like the next day, and you get it like
and
a few days.
They're in Portland too, so for us, if I order something and they ship it out on a Monday, I have it by Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I give them a thumbs up. Yeah.
Yeah, they get a big thumbs up from me. They also have my favorite knob, which is the I think they call it the Obelisk. And it's essentially a metal version of this knob.
Oh,
but they're like $2 a piece.
Cool.
Not cheap, but I really like this.
Yeah, there's a few knobs that I like, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to put that on a pedal. You know, like cost and like whether like does it add any value? You know, I don't know. I've kind of moved to the plastic knobs, but hopefully like tasteful knob, you know, like where I'm striking a balance between looking good, cost effective, you know, like space effective, you know.
Right.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks for pointing out the Stompbox parts. I'm gonna actually, I hadn't heard of them. I'm gonna have to go check them out because actually I like the deal on the op amps, and then it seems like they have pretty good prices on a lot of other stuff. I'm kind of looking at it right now. Though they don't have all the colors
as well. It's one of the things about Taita is that it's pretty easy to buy a bunch of like 5 resistors or whatever in bulk. If you need a whole bunch of different values, it's very easy to just kind of go through and pick on the ones you need. This just looks like a very easy to use site as well.
Yeah, it's super easy to use. Also, if you look right now, I don't know if you remember back in the day, the Devi Ever pedals that had the joysticks on them. People were going nuts because they couldn't find those joysticks, and Mammoth actually commissioned some to be made, and they just the Stompbox parts just found a bunch of them that they bought and they didn't know they had. So if you check that website, they're selling the joysticks, which I used to make a little synthesizer in a cardboard box, and it was just potentiometer controlled. And then I bought one of those joysticks from Devi Ever herself, and loved it. It sold instantly when I put that on, but then I couldn't get any more after that because I didn't like Mammoth at all. They never shipped anything right. So
yeah, I'm looking at these joysticks. They look pretty cool.
Yeah, and they're like $10, which isn't unreasonable for what it is.
Yeah, it looks good quality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got to think of now. It's like I'm kind of, all, ass backwards because like I'll see a part like that and then I'm like, okay, I have to find a project to put this part in. It's not, it should be the other way around. You're like, I want to build this amazing thing, and then I get the correct parts.
Right. And so this specific joystick, I think, it returns to center, which isn't ideal for what a lot of guys do. Like they're going to want to set it and leave it, but they give you instructions on how to take it apart, remove the parts that make it return to center, and then it'll just go wherever you put it. So it's a cool part.
Actually, as long as we're talking about parts, what someone on the DIY Stomp Boxes forum the other day posted something about electronic gold mine, and they said that they found a bunch of they had these things on sale. They were what are those, like NSL 32 Opto Couplers, right? But they had them on sale, and it was like $3 for 12.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna just buy like 24 of these because like, I probably won't use them all, but like I'll sooner or later I'll use them,
Yeah. And what's interesting is a lot of companies that use those in pedals have had issues shipping them overseas because they contain heavy metals that for ROHS shipping compliances, they don't align with that. And so like Midfi, they make the Pitch Pirate, and they make a bunch of really cool stuff. A lot of guys in England haven't been able to get Midfi pedals because the guy, I think his name is Doug, hasn't been able to ship them out because the pedals don't meet ROHS standards. And so apparently the workaround for that, which is what, because Chase, if you look inside a Chase Bliss pedal, they are full of those opto isolate. Like there's like 6 of them in some of the pedals. And so they make the argument that the reason why we have these standards is because a lot of electronics go in the trash, right? And then the heavy metals leach into the ground. Their argument is that guitar pedals do not go in the trash. People do not throw them away. People sell them, they pass them on. There's no one who's buying a $400 Chase Bliss pedal and throwing it in the trash. And so that's the argument that they use to be able to ship them overseas. So somebody, I guess, filled the guy in on that, and he might use that argument as well to be able to ship them overseas, because I guess a lot of the times what he does is if someone wants his pedal in the UK, he'll send them a PCB and say, here's a schematic, here's a list, you can just make it yourself.
Oh, funny.
Maybe I should have my mom try and order one, and then she can send me the PCB.
Oh yeah.
Good idea, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It looks like these Opto Couplers are not on sale anymore because they have a
That's
package.
too bad.
Well, it's still cheap though. It's a package of 12 for $12.
That's the deal, because they're like $4 or $5 a piece usually.
Yeah. Yeah. I got some on AliExpress for a pretty good deal. Like they were like $5 for 5 or 6 of them, or maybe $6 for 5, something like that. They're kind of the equivalent of the, what is it? VT5, VTL9.
VTL 5C3.
Well, the 9C3.
Okay.
It's like that one. And I got those. They were a great deal, except for like shipping from China takes like a month,
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so I ordered these all. We'll see what happens when they get here,
Have you ever gotten things from AliExpress that didn't seem like they were the correct spec?
You know what? I ordered some okay, so here, this is kind of funny. I'm working on this. I have this project over here that works with an Arduino. And I was like, okay, I'm going to order some Arduinos. And you can pay like $20 for an Arduino. But, I'm like, I bet they got them on AliExpress for dirt cheap. So I found some over there that were like $5, right? And I'm like, okay, I'll buy some of these. And then I ordered them. And what came in the mail was this thing, right? Which is actually, it's an adapter board for the thing, right? But it's like when you see this, there's like a little tiny picture. It looks about this big. And then they have a few other versions that are actually the Arduino for like $5. And then they have this thing that says, Arduino Nano, whatever version. And then it says at the very end, it says adapter. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So it kind of fooled me, and I bought like 3 or 5 of these, but it was probably like $6 or something that I spent, or $7 or $8, something like that. So I was like, I'm not going to worry about it. And then I ordered the right thing, and I got them, so
from
yeah. So sometimes I get the wrong thing. Otherwise, usually the stuff is actually like okay. Like I haven't really had any problems. Like those Opto Couplers were good. I got some. What else did I get over there? I got a bunch of caps. Like I bought like 100 caps, and I haven't used them. They seem like they're normal though. They're just like film caps,
Yeah, I've been. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've been finding that there are certain kinds of things that when you buy them on the internet, especially from China, you have to be prepared to just put them in a drawer and never use them.
Like what?
It's really hard to
drawer,
know.
Kirk?
Well, I mean, specifically, I'm talking about like guitar necks that are, like it's supposed to fit on like a Fender style neck pocket, and then you get it, and it's like 2 inches.
Oh yeah, you got that neck, which is kind of a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one. I feel like I've kind of had that experience. Like I bought some, not from AliExpress, but on eBay, but I got some tuners, like locking 6-in-line tuners from China, and they were super cheap. But like when they got here, they were super cheap, like quality wise. They were just not very good. They work, but they're just, they just feel low quality. So, they're the kind of thing, they do work. I put them on a guitar, it works. I feel like I want to replace them, so they might go in a drawer and never get used, if I decide to replace them. But I feel like I should, because they just kind of feel cheap,
I think the tuners, like these days, even I usually buy used tuners typically, because what you find a lot when I'm shopping around is a guy will buy a guitar. It'll have regular tuners on it. He'll buy the whatever locking tuners as an upgrade. And then he comes to sell that guitar and decides to put the original tuners back on it. But then he's got no need for those tuners again. Or maybe he puts them in a box, or maybe he wants to make his money back. So I've had great fortune picking up used tuners for, half of the cost of the regular ones. I picked up, they're not my favorite tuner. They're kind of awkward, but Diodario, however you say it, they make a tuner that is locking and as you tune it up, it clips the string off.
Weird.
Wow.
So it's designed by Ned Steinberger, right? And the string will come through like this, and as it's turning around, there's a blade right here, and you tune it, and it just clips the string off, and then it hides the sharp end behind like a little shield.
Oh, that's good.
So you don't poke your finger on it.
And you don't have to worry about winding the string down below the wraps.
No, none of that. It's a really cool design, and I think I paid $35-40 for them, and I haven't had any issues with them at all. Typically, I don't like locking tuners. I don't think it's any quicker to do locking tuners than any other tuner, and so, but these ones are just great. It's cool to just tune up, and you get to a point, and the string just clips off, and yeah, it's
That's
just
cool.
really cool.
I'm kind of a guitar slob. Like I just have those like strings just like waving in the air on the end of the fucking sock.
I've been that guy.
Actually, speaking of you were that guy, no longer though, right?
It depends. Like, so if I'm setting up a guitar, I don't clip the strings off until I'm done, because if you have to unwind them, and then you replacing the strings if they get messed up. So
I do that thing where you kind of grab it with your thumb and you go zip, and then it like coils up.
Oh, you gotta have really tough fingers to do that.
I don't know.
I guess you must have tough fingers.
Oh, toughest. It's speaking of the tuners, I got a set of these tuners. They're called ratio tuners. I think they're by Planet Waves or something.
They're
like
Graphtech.
that. Oh yeah, Graphtech. Yeah, you're right. And they're I thought they were super cool. They're like $100 though. So like, I don't know if I'd buy another set, but I kind of want to get another set because I like them. But they have like, each tuner has a different ratio like of turn to how much winding, so like you turn the handle, and then like how much of the string gets wound around the post for each turn. But it's kind of set up so like every turn produces the same amount of tension change in each string, and it's different because of the weights of the strings. So like, like the G string has a much higher ratio than the other strings. So like your G string isn't like so touchy when you tune it up like it normally is with regular tuners. I don't know that it solves a big problem we're all having, because people have been getting by tuning the G string for years. Right? They just pay a little closer attention to it, but they are kind of nice. I actually like them. I tried them and I was like, these are pretty good,
Yeah, I wanted to try them. Like, the only issue I think I'd have with them is that, and this is, maybe you can tell me if this is right or not, but I've heard that the one issue people have is that if you take your low E and drop it down to D, you don't have to go as far as you used to. And so you have to kind of, it's a different feeling. So like maybe you're mid between songs and you just need to hit that down to D, and it's just a different feeling that people have struggled to get used to. That's what I heard.
They do feel different, not like hugely different, but they are a little bit different. I don't think, it doesn't bother me, but I'm not like retuning my guitar in the middle of a set or at the end of it. Like I'm just tuning it up once and it just stays that way. But otherwise, I would recommend them. Like I thought they were pretty good. The quality was
set of
good.
Tuners that's pretty steep for me. But of course,
yeah,
I usually get my tuners from Guitar Fetish, and sometimes you get what you pay for.
Yeah. I don't know that they were 10 times better than the cheap tuners from China, but the $10 tuners weren't very good. So I'm totally willing to pay $20, $30, $50 for tuners. $100 a little expensive, I don't know.
60 is my max for a tuner.
Yeah,
set of tuners is like, 10 years ago it would have been 50, now it's 60. It's interesting being in the Bay Area. I don't know if you check Craigslist much, but there's always a guy who's selling used hip shot tuners, the locking hip shot tuners. He's got like 10 different sets for sale on Craigslist at any given time, and they're like $30-40, and he's in the city. And so that's one of the reasons why I've been wanting to come up, because I see a set of you know, I have a guitar that could use some better tuners, and I need three asides, and I would like them to be black. And he had a set, and they were $40, and I'm like, why is this guy always got hip shots? I don't know if you've used hip shots in the past, but they typically come with like a mounting bracket, so you don't need to screw them in.
Yeah,
and that's a great feature. I love that feature.
They're super good quality. Like those are like, they just make really good stuff, and it's more like the product is good quality, and then they put the extra finish on top of it just to push it over the top, where it's like really, you know, you just feel it and you're just like, this looks great, you know. And then the finish is like really nice. It looks good too, you know.
Yeah,
they're good
great
style too. Like the style of them, they're really well designed, you know.
Yeah, it's cool that you can like pay a small premium and change the switch tip, the tips to the actual tuning buttons.
You know, I got some of those things that are like knurled, and it's just like a little cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
I got some of those, and I haven't put them on a guitar, but I got some of those just to try them out because they looked so, I don't know, weirdo, high tech, different. I also have to do something different, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if the rest of the hardware on the guitar is like that, it would be kind of cool to keep it consistent.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I got to get back on my guitar building, you know.
Yeah, you were going to put those on your Holy guitar, right?
Yeah. Actually, you know, speaking of the Holy guitar, did you see that video? Have you ever seen that guy?
Crimson Guitars.
Crimson Guitars, that's the guy. Well, recently he said like, oh, I built this guitar for my daughter and she never plays it. And so I went into her room and I picked up the guitar and I was like, I was about to say, honey, why don't you ever play this guitar I made you? And then he says like, I pick up the guitar and I'm like, oh yeah, I know why you don't play, because it's really heavy. So he takes it and he's like, I'm going to drill some holes in it. And like, because I did that, right? But he actually like, I that guy, he's kind of a little bit of a goofball, but he also like knows the tools, and he does a good job with the tools. And what he did was, it's hard to describe, like, but basically he did a honeycomb, right? So imagine like circles like this, and then they're offset by half the diameter on the next row, you know? Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a hexagonal kind of pattern, right? But they're circles, you know? And then on the back, he did the same pattern, except it was off by half the diameter of, or the, you know, like every circle on the back was between the two in the front.
Oh, that's funny.
So like, as you looked through it, you would see the circle on the front like this, and the circle on the back would kind of overlap it halfway like this.
I think on that same guitar, he had drilled the holes in the side, right? Did you see that one?
No, this was a Stratocaster.
Oh, okay.
I know the one you're talking about. It was kind of like a Les Paul, but this was like his daughter's guitar. He built her like this Stratocaster, and it was purple, right? And then he just said, okay, I'm going to make this lighter. So he planned out all these holes, and he drilled them in the front, and then he went to the back and he drilled them all offset so that they kind of look like this. Like you'd see one hole here like that, and then the next hole on the back would like line up like this. So it didn't go all the way through, but like it went through like where they overlapped. You know, you have to kind of see it.
Okay, I'll watch that. It's been showing up in my.
Yeah, it was kind of good. I had to skip ahead because, you know, he's kind of one of those videos where I'm like, okay, I'm going to skip ahead a minute or two.
Yeah, his videos tend to go on like an hour.
Yeah, it was pretty long, you know, but I just wanted to see what he did at the end. And I was actually mildly impressed. You know, I was like, hey, that was pretty clever. And then he and I was like, and you lined up all the holes perfectly, like, which like that would be a challenge for me. I'm kind of just so like an amateur with the power tools, you know? You know, and then he got all the holes to go halfway through to where they met in the middle, but they didn't all go all the way through, right? Which is pretty good.
Well, I saw another channel responding to that video very subliminally. I mean, they didn't come out and say that because they know Ben Pro, but they were saying that like drilling holes in a guitar body, it's not exactly weight relief. Like they actually chamber their bodies.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they've done that with Strats, but they, you know.
Yeah, I could see that. You know, I mean, like if I could afford the chambered guitar, I might get one of those. But you know, like when I made the guitar, I just had a solid slab of wood, so I just drilled a bunch of holes from the back that they don't go all the way through. but they just go, they stop about like 3/4 of the way or about a 1/4 inch from the front, you know, just to take some weight off, you know.
Yeah,
They're all on the back.
I think it's interesting though that somebody's saying that, oh, weight relief is not the same as chambering. Well, the sound of a chambered guitar is completely different than a solid body guitar, right? Like your note attack is different. I mean, some people notice it, some people don't. I have one semi-hollow instrument that I don't play as much because I prefer the attack of a solid body instrument. But I'd have to believe that a guitar with holes drilled in it, while may not relieve as much weight as the user perhaps intended, would definitely respond similarly to how a regular solid body would respond versus a chambered instrument, which my guess would be more like a semi-hollow response. So maybe we should look at the intentions of the person who's doing it instead of, you know, saying, well, we do our guitars like this. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that there.
Yeah. I think also, you know, like there's a lot of assumptions where people are just saying, yeah, see, it sounds better, but they actually didn't measure anything. You know, they didn't actually do a blind test, you know, you know what I mean? They didn't like really like get down there and like really compare, you know, what the results were against the result of something else, you know.
And it's probably because you could do 3 different chambered guitars and they would all have something different about them because it's not from the same piece of wood.
Right?
Yeah. And then there's like the hollow, like there's the Les Paul chambering, right? And they do a bunch of different styles of chambering. And then there's like, you know, the ES 335 chamber, but it's basically like a totally different guitar. It's like plywood, which has to have a different sound to it than a solid, and it's like glued together. You know what I mean? It's got a center block.
Yeah, it's additive rather than subtractive.
Yeah, right. Totally different setup, you know. And then if you're in my mind, I think that a lot of acoustic stuff, like acoustic guitars, like guitars sound different acoustically, right? But when you're plugged in electric, it's like all of a sudden like the shape of the body and all that stuff goes out the window, and it's all about the pickup and the strings, like how heavy your strings are against the pickup, you know, that kind of stuff. That's just my theory. I haven't measured it yet, but that's how I feel. You know.
Right.
Hey, so why don't we switch gears for a minute? So what are you guys working on lately? Anybody working on any projects?
Well, I'm still working on the same project, but I'm getting, it's coming along. I've got it right here. It's my 51 stop bass. These are the what do you call them? Bootstrap pickups. Unfortunately, you can see it's not wired yet.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it.
Dude, that's looking great. That's looking great. I love that. Actually, I love the black pick guard on the raw, you know, the kind of, well, you oiled it, but it's just basically like raw wood, you know?
Right. Yeah. This is Odie's oil.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I love that.
Looks great.
It looks really good. Yeah. It looks super good.
I like that you've gone for the jazz bass original P bass setup. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I have a jazz bass, and I have always liked having a bridge pickup. I love the style of the 51 P bass, but just seems a little bit limited.
So do you like having the bridge pickup to mix it in with the neck pickup, or do you like just to switch to the bridge and use the bridge pickup, or do you just use the bridge pickup all the time?
No, I definitely mix it in.
Okay.
I don't really use switches. Like if I've had a bass with the switch on it, it just stays in the center all the time, and then I use the knobs to mix. And like this one doesn't have a switch. The jazz bass doesn't have a switch. I know that people mod their jazz bass by putting a switch on it, but like I just don't really use tone on a bass like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like just suddenly switch it into a completely different sound.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question. So it looked like, I couldn't tell, but we had talked about using those threaded inserts, and it kind of looked like maybe you had put one of those in there.
Oh yes, I did. I did put the threaded inserts for the pickups.
Oh, you didn't do it for the jack plate, because it kind of looked like there was something at the ends where the jack plate would. you know,
Well, I put the screws in there because I didn't want to lose them.
uh,
But you know what? I think I'm gonna put I'm gonna put the threaded inserts actually on my my Mustang. I decided it's time to start modding this guitar, and part of the reason that I went there is that last week I pulled the plug out of the jack, and the jack plate just, you know, the screw that's holding down the back of the jack plate just totally ripped out.
oh,
I mean, it's sticking out just a little bit, so this thing should, like, okay, this thing's gonna get some mods, and I'm gonna start with the threaded inserts for the jack plate.
I mentioned this before, but I have a carve-in, and like the back plate is held in with a threaded insert, like instead of wood screws. And it's just so high quality. It just feels so high quality because it's basically has a bunch of machine screws that holds the plate on the back, right?
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes me think like, why are we using, like, why are these high-end guitars from Gibson all using like wood screws that strip out, you know?
It's this like, the tone is better on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure somebody out there thinks that when you screw your pickups directly into the wood, that the tone is better than if you.
Eddie Van Halen said that.
Right.
Like he said that, right? He did it too, you know. So I don't know.
The other guy is who said that was G. Smith from the Saturday Night Live band. Apparently, his favorite things to do on Telecasters was they would cut off the bridge and then screw the pickup straight into the body, and they said it had a different tone. And I'm like,
you know what? I don't know that I've tested it, but I'm willing to buy that, and I'll tell you why. To me, like when I think about it, the pickup, it's mounted on something and then it has some springs. So if your guitar is vibrating, it's actually possible for the pickup to move a little bit, you know, especially if it's attached to the pick guard.
Yeah.
Right from the top. Like, so the pick guard.
I think you could even have feedback from that.
Yeah, right. So I kind of think that could happen, you know, but I don't know. I haven't measured it, you know, I haven't like done like an audio histogram of all frequencies possible.
This is on a telly too, so it's a metal plate that has to be doing something to the pickup there because it's a metal and it's magnets and it's doing something. And so I'd imagine removing that is going to change something. As to what it is or whether it's good or bad or better, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, and those telly pickups too, they have the old ones anyway, have like a little metal plate on the bottom.
Right.
Like I have a pickup like that. It's got like a copper or a brass plate that sits underneath the winding, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that makes a difference. I think people have said that those sound different than the other pickups, you know, without it, you know, without the metal plate. But anyway, your thing looks amazing. How did installing the threaded inserts go? Did you get them in there?
I did. It was a little bit tough because they're inside the pickup cavity. So like loosening up the nuts to, you know, to extract the bolt is a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But I got it done. I did shoot some video, so I'll something like that.
Oh, cool. Because I did some of those on a neck once too. I put them in so the neck has like these machine screws that just hold it on, and instead of wood screws, right? You know, I thought it was cool. It was really hard to get them into the hard rock maple of the neck. That was a total headache. And then of course, like it was like the first time I'd done it, so I was like totally inept at the process. Yeah, there's some technique involved in there. Did you do the thing with the bolt and the two nuts?
Yep.
Did that work? Because I figured that out later, and it actually that worked really well. You can actually extract it with that too.
Right. Yeah. I know how you would do that, and I wouldn't have thought of that if you didn't mention it. But like, yeah, like I said, like if you're installing the insert inside a cavity, getting the nuts to loosen up so that you can, you know, bring the top one to the head of the nut for extraction of the bolt, it's a little bit tough. You know, I probably would have been better off using tweezers or something like that.
Yeah, you probably need like a little box wrench or something to get.
Yeah, something like that.
You know, yeah, the crescent wrench isn't gonna cut it.
Right, right.
Yeah, the needle nose pliers just doesn't feel professional, you know.
Right.
Yeah, cool. Hey, so Steve, what have you been working on?
Oh, I've been working on a lot of stuff.
Oh, cool. Let's hear about it.
So last time we talked, I was making a reverb pedal. Jupiter Effects is a company out of Germany that at the beginning of the pandemic, they were switching over to SMD. And so they wanted to clear out their PCBs. So I bought one. I waited about 3 months to get it. And then it finally showed up and I decided to work on it. And I finished it and I put it in this. The PCB is way oversized. It wouldn't fit in anything smaller than this. This is a regular sized, square enclosure. And then this kind of dwarfs it.
What is that? Is that like the XX, the 1590?
Yeah.
X? Okay.
That's one of the sizes. And, I went through all that effort. I painted it this cool gold sparkle. I went and put my name. I mean, none of this is easy for me to do. Like, it's all steps. And you know what? I don't really like it all that much.
But it works though.
Yeah, it works great. But it's a Belton brick reverb with a built-in boost, and it's just over the top with feedback because this guy's pedals are all about noise. But one thing that came out of this was this method of as I mentioned before, I make the stencils on the Cricut, put them on, spray over it. But if you mess it up, there's so many ways to mess it up in terms of the application, in terms of the painting, in terms of the weeding the negative space away that you don't want. And so I decided that I would try and get a new logo because my old logo it's an elk, right? And it's cool, but I had no way to recreate that on a stencil. So I decided to make a new logo, and I decided to have it lasered in like acrylic. So I finally figured out the new logo and got it in this little thing. And this was, I don't do this stuff. So I found a stock image online, tweaked it in Paint, if you can believe that. And then sent it to a friend and he was like, oh yeah, let's clean it up. And then cleaned it up. And then there's a company in Portland called Amplify Fun, and they offer a printing service on enclosures, but they also offer laser engraving too. And so I sent him what I had, and he was like, oh, I need it in this format with these requirements, but don't worry, I'll convert what you have over. I was like, oh, thank God, because there's no way I don't have the skills to do it. And so I got a couple of them made with like a walnut background, and then I got the rest all made in the black. And so this was a huge step for me because it means I don't have to mess around with templates. Yeah, my controls aren't labeled and whatnot, but I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I like the logo a lot.
It does look cool.
Yeah.
So how do you attach the logo to the?
So you can get them a couple of different ways. You can either have them with nothing on the back, and then you can use some kind of epoxy. I asked for the 3M. It's like an adhesive, and I've never had an issue with any 3M product at all. And so hopefully it sticks around and it stays. So that was my big one. And then this is actually, it's a Germanium multi-frequency booster. So all the way left, it's like hyper trebly, and all the way right, it's super bassy. And all the caps are on a rotary switch. And this is for a guy I work with. And he works in Chicago, and I had a bunch of these old Dakaware knobs, which are made in Chicago. And like I have just a bag of them, and they've got to be like 50s, 60s. And so I decided I'd put a couple of those on there for him and send it back to Chicago. And so that was one of the things I finished up this week. That'll be going in the mail tomorrow. And then what else did I do? Oh, I
like that Jupiter Effects pedal. It looks amazing. Like, you might not like the sound, but the color and the just the gold against the kind of bronze looks pretty amazing.
Yeah, the stenciling's really clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually so I don't know how deep you've gone deep dive with like spray paints and stuff, but it's something that I've been doing a lot of because I was tired of waiting 3 weeks for Tata to powder coat enclosures. So I went to a hobby store and I bought some paints and I thought I'd give it a go myself, and the results have been great. So this is actually a brown base, like the most poopy brown you could imagine. But then I just went over it with gold, but just real lightly, a real light mist coat, and it gives it this sort of cool effect. And that is the same thing I did with this one. This is a powder coated black enclosure that I got from Stompbox Parts. And then I just took some gold enamel spray and I just sort of spray near it and let the gold fall where it wants to. And I get this cool effect. And so like on the sides, it almost looks like a burst in some lights.
Yeah.
I'm not
You
sure
don't
how
have
well
to
you can see that.
put clear over it.
No, enamel is very hard wearing. And in fact, they even tell you on the can, like if you clear over it, it's going to change how it looks. So if you like how it looks, then you shouldn't clear over it. So yeah, it's a really cool finish.
I got a question about that, the logo on the top there. What is that made out of? Is that like made out of plastic? Is it like a 2-layer plastic or something? And then they laser cut down through the black layer to the white?
That's exactly right. So essentially what they do is they have like 50 different ones. So you can get ones that are black, and then once they're etched away, it's gold underneath. I mean, anything you can think of, they have. And so I tried to think what was the most coffin-like. And so I went with the black and the wood grain this time. And these were, so typically the company makes like a full face. Like they'll sell you a full face. And for a 125B like this, they're like $5 for that. Which, if you don't want to get into the whole color thing of, because you have to use swatches and you have to like separate your color layers, and it's pretty hardcore to get into. And I just said, I can't do this. Like, I don't even own a computer anymore. Like, I have my work computer, but everything else I do on phone. So I couldn't do anything with it. And so I thought this would keep it simple enough. And I think these were like $3 a piece, which isn't great, but it's just something to just identify it as mine. And I think it looks better than the job that I did with the spray paint, which is also a headache when it goes wrong. So I was really grateful to get that done.
Paint and the process, the time you spent on that, and the cost of the paint is probably like, it's like costly also. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's why I kind of, I don't know if you guys ever watch Food Network at all, but they always do this thing where they'll take something that's store bought and they'll just add a few things that are very cheap to make it like you made it yourself. And I feel like that's what I've done here. Like I took, I think it's a $7 or $8 enclosure when they powder coat it, and I put 25. It took me longer to shake the can than it did to actually apply the finish. And but even still, it's just enough to make it stand out from just like a regular powder coated enclosure. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how that turned out. And although my wife was very disappointed in my choice of logo, she was like, couldn't you do something a bit more positive? And I'm like, no, the coffin is really cool. The coffin is cool. She didn't get it at all.
Come on, all those goth people and the shoegazers are going to be down with that.
I know, that's my thing. Like a lot of, I'm kind of, I don't know if it's going to make it on too many praise and worship boards, but I think everybody else might appreciate it.
Yeah, right. It's the music of your people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the only other thing I worked on, which I have here and it works, but not satisfactorily, is this is a clone of the 1981 drive pedal.
Nice.
And I listened last week, and you mentioned it's kind of a rat, but it doesn't have any of the same lineage at all, right?
I kind of thought it was a rat, but then it has like a charge pump in it and a buffer.
No, so from what I can see by looking at the schematic and the parts, it's more like somebody put. See, I didn't even attach the knobs properly, they're all falling off. From what I understand, it's got a rat style tone control, which is why people think it's a rat. But it's obviously got a buffer. It's 18 volts, and it's like what's the booster that MXR makes? It's a white pedal.
Is it the Distortion Plus? Is that
no?
MXR? No,
that is MXR, but it's the boost version. It's
microamp.
Microamp. Yeah. So as I understand it, it's an 18 volt microamp styled circuit into a distortion, because it's got the charge pump and then two TLO72s in it. One's doing the buffering, and then the other one's doing boost and distortion. It sounds
clipping diodes to ground like the rat, and I think the microamp doesn't have that. I think the microamp, I don't know. I thought the microamp was just an op amp without the clipping, but I could be wrong.
It is, but it's the boost into the distortion. That's what, and so it is clipping, but because it's a TLO72, it's using one half of the op amp to do the boosting and the other half to do the clipping. That's how I understand it. But I've been on a couple of different Discords and forums, and people get very, very upset when people refer to it as a rat. They're like, it's not a rat. And
I called it a rat. Nobody, I didn't say it to anybody though, so maybe I didn't get in trouble for it, but I would have called it a rat.
Yeah, it'll be in the comments.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, flame me in the comments.
It sounds like a rat. Does it not?
Well, actually that brings up a really good question, because I kind of liked it and I kind of didn't like it. I kind of liked it and not liked it. Like, it had a real 80s kind of like metal kind of rock sound, and you couldn't dial that away. So if you like that sound, it was good, but like I wanted to be able to dial it down into the more like overdrivey tones too. Like, it didn't quite get there for me on the low end, but it did sound good. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, does the charge pump add anything if you're using clipping diodes to ground? Because like the diodes clip at like 0.7 volts or something. So like if you had 18 volts of headroom, like it seems like you're just losing, like 9 volts would be plenty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so that's my other complaint about this. Now, I don't know, and the reason why it's not on my board, it was on my board and I had the little thing on it, and then I had to take it off because mine is really hissy. It's like super, super hissy. And also, I have to have the volume cranked nearly all the way up. Like, because usually the midpoint on a pedal unity is like 50 to 60% of the way up. This one, I have to have it 75% of the way up to hit unity. Now, I don't know if this is a mistake I've made when building it, or if you've had the same issue with yours. And so that's kind of why I brought it up, because I wanted to ask you, did you have the same problem that I had?
Did you use, like, maybe it's the taper on the pot?
Well, they're all linear. So that's what the schematic called for, was linear pots on this one. So that's what got used. But
because you know what? I think when I built it, all the pots were audio taper. But I built the PCB from pedal PCB.
That's
so
what
maybe
that's what this is too. This is a PCB from them. So maybe I need to revisit that and take another look, because my notes on the back here are that it's quiet and hissy. And so when it's on, it's just like this hiss. Now, given that I just bought last week or the week before a rat clone, which was $11 shipped. So I think it was $13 with tax.
Wow,
and it doesn't. It's a huge deal, and it's not a mini pedal either. It's like a regular size. It's and it sounds great, and it's on and it replaced this one on my board, and so but that one isn't noisy. And I'm thinking, it's it's a very budget pedal made overseas, not with the best parts, but it has a better noise floor than this one does, that's making me think I've done something wrong.
Is it noise like hiss from like
Yeah, it's
Audio
like if
hiss.
you,
It's not like the charge pump whine.
it's not charge pump whine. It
Okay.
may be, see, and here's the other thing. I bought the charge pump from Tater. And so it got me thinking, oh, is this one of Tater's fake parts? And is that why I've got this noise? But it doesn't. It just sounds like you have like a heavy metal pedal on too loud. Like that's what it sounds like. But you don't get that in a Rat. Like it's like cooking bacon, you know, it's like shh.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, when I built, like, actually, I was searching for my circuit board. I haven't built it because I'm missing the pots, but this is the one I built. Or I built two of these like this, and this is a third one that I'm working on, right? And this, like, I think it says A100K for all the pots. Like I'm reading it right now. So I think like these should all be audio taper. And the other thing is when I use the charge pump, it's set up for a couple different versions of the charge pump. I forget what they are. There's the Max 1044 and the LT7, whatever, right? You know, so depending on which one you use, there's a little, this little, two little tabs right there.
Right.
If you're not using the max charge pump, you have to bridge this.
Bridge that. Yeah.
Otherwise, but that doesn't sound like your problem. But that I had to do that because I got the whine when I first installed mine. Then I was like, oh yeah, I got to bridge the thing. You know?
I'll check it. It's one of those things where I've had it on the bench, and I love the tonality of the pedal, but I just couldn't deal with the low vol. The low volume's fine because I just crank it up, but it just made me feel like something wasn't right. And I'm not super perfectionist, but it seemed like it wasn't right to me. And so I wanted to make sure I got it. And then, I picked up a couple of things in trade. I got this pedal, which is, it's a Rat clone, but it's called, so the company is called Dynox of Colorado. And this was a pedal that the guy designed in conjunction with Kurt Ballou, who is from Converge. He's like a big guy in the metal scene, I guess. And he's done a bunch of pedals and stuff. He has his own guitar line. He runs a studio called God City Studio. And this is like most people when they do a Rat clone, there's a switch to switch the clipping. There might be, very few other changes. This one has no tone control. It just has two switches for bass and mids. The bottom is a clipping switch, and then it has this thing called a tilt control. And I don't know what it's doing, but I wish I knew. When you have it all the way clockwise like that, it sounds like a Rat. But as you turn it this way, an octave comes in. It's like a high octave effect comes in.
Huh.
And I have no clue what it is. Because at first I thought, oh, it's just a tilt style tone control. Like that's pretty common on audio stuff, but it isn't. And I was totally blown away. So
cool.
Super
name
cool.
It's called a Rad Larry. That's the name of the pedal.
But I can't. So I opened it up, and inside it says 1 of 1. Death to fascists, 1 of 1 is what it says. And so they make a pedal called a Bad Larry, which is the traditional version, and then this one is a Rad Larry. I don't know what the differences are. I might have to email the guy and say, hey, I picked this up. What can you tell me about the tilt control? Because it's blowing my mind. It's super cool to have like the clipping options and then this octave effect that comes in on a Rat pedal. Really cool.
It sounds super cool. Hey, I got a question. So, sorry, Kirk, you got something? I was going to say, so you said you traded for that. Is that right?
Yeah. So I traded the pedal I had was a Boss Super Feedbacker and Distortion pedal. I don't know if you remember those. It's essentially a DS1, and you push the switch down halfway, and it brings in like a pitched feedback loop, like a simulated feedback. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool. I paid $5 for it at a yard sale.
Awesome.
But I never liked it. Like, it was just not like, if you like DS1s, it does that sound, right? But I noticed the values were creeping up, and this guy had a bunch of stuff, and he wanted a super feedback. And I was like, well, I have one, and this pedal looked cool, and it sounded great. And I'm like, okay, but I can't find anything about it. But then the other part of the trade was this modded volume pedal. So it's just it's a standard volume pedal, but it's got a buffer in it for both the tuner out and the regular out. And so it all your high end is retained, and it's super smooth taper too. I don't know what's going on with the internals here exactly. The company that did the mod is called Kinetone, and it's so much better than my standard Ernie Ball volume pedal that I'm kind of blown away.
Nice.
So,
hey, so where did you trade?
So I'm not sure how familiar you are. There's a guy who does demos on YouTube. His channel is called Collector Emitter, and he does a lot of the boutique. I don't know if you call it a boutique fuzz pedal, but it's just, he does a ton of really cool demos on YouTube, and he also works with Mask Audio Electronics, and they work together on a couple of pedals they just put out. One's called the Parts Garden, which is like it's like a harmonic two harmonic percolators, and then a way to sort of blend the two sounds. And then another one which is two fuzz pedals together, which is called Cascader, which just came out this week. And just as like stand-up guys. And so the Collector Emitter guy has a Discord forum where you can talk about pedals, you can talk about guitars, whatever. But it's kind of like all the guys there are into the same sort of stuff. They're all like the Steve Albini kind of bands, and associated bands and music and things like that. And so I just started hanging out there because they like a lot of the same gear that I do. And so they have a trade section or a for sale section. And I just hit, this guy was selling a bunch of stuff, and he wanted $50 for each of these. And my pedal cost me $5, but it's worth like $110 maybe. It's funny. People used to complain about Reverb pushing the price upon stuff, but Reverb has pushed stuff up way higher than Reverb ever did, than eBay ever did. And so I figured that if he valued these two at 50, I'd value mine at 100. And we both, I'm actually going to be able to use this, whereas I wouldn't be able to use the distortion. And the volume pedal, I don't know how much experience you have with these volume pedals in particular, but why they're still popular is beyond me. Like the string system is terrible. They're heavy. They take up a ton of room, but they're $40 used all day on any website. And so to find one that had a buffer in it, I was like, for $10 more, because I don't know if you're familiar. There's a company in Chicago that makes a retrofit for these pedals that turns it into a Hall effect sensor. It takes the string out, it takes the pod out, and then it's like a digital volume control then, essentially. And I was thinking about doing that, but that kit by itself was like $60 to $70. And I thought, no, it's kind of a lot of money to spend on something that, didn't cost that much to begin with. So this is really great. It's going to be a buffer. It's going to be a smoother taper. It's in much better shape than mine is. But I'm just going to have to deal with the string of doom.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking about, was like trying to get like a pedal kind of trade ring or something where you could just send somebody a pedal, they'd send you a pedal or something like that. So the trading thing, you should send us a link to the Discord, because that would be a cool thing to explore,
Yeah,
I love the idea of barter over like just paying cash. Like I want to trade stuff. I don't want to pay money.
Yeah, because anytime there's like a cash thing on my bank account, I have to justify it. And it's like my Amanda is very good to me about most everything, but sometimes it's like, hey, did we really need to spend $150 on a fuzz pedal? And it's like,
I like that that she phrased it
right. It's a communal fuzz. We all get benefit from it.
Yeah, it's family fuzz. The kids could use it. Kids should be getting into fuzz. I think your kids are old enough.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, but it's much easier to do, a 1-for-1 trade, and then it's only a $10 postage charge showing up. It's like, yeah, I mailed something. Oh, okay.
There's definitely a lot of trust involved in trading over the internet. I think it'd be ideal if you could, if you have those in-person swap meets again. You could meet all the.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's where Mitchell and I first met.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually like the swap meet, and I like the guy that does it, the Eurythmia guy, I think his name's Eric, and I like the idea of it, but I kind of actually thought, like, I don't know, maybe someone could do it better. I almost wanted to try, because there was a kind of like, I don't know, like a pedal swap kind of forum, Euro rack synthesizer stuff. They did a thing in New York, and they did one in LA, and they did one recently in Oregon, all online, like a Eurorack thing. And I thought, like, wow, like before the pandemic, I had started having ideas like, maybe we could do one of those in San Francisco, or in the Bay Area. Like, it could be good for that, and kind of maybe try and get some people involved, like maybe some sponsorship or something. But then the pandemic hit, and I kind of forgot about the idea. But maybe it's something that could come up again. I don't know.
In fact, one of my best trades was with you. I think I traded you a Boss G7, like an equalizer pedal, for one of your delay pedals that you made with the etched fish on it.
Oh, okay. Oh, great.
And I still have it. I still use it all the time. So,
dude, this guy drives a hard bargain, boy. Don't.
Those equalizer pedals are good.
There's only a few of those. There's only 3 of those. You got one of 3.
Really?
I think I even etched the number into the case.
It does have the number on it. And it even has it. I think I still have one of your board. I think I bought this from you at the swap meet, which was your proto board.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I never ended up doing anything with this yet. I've been planning something out for a long time, but I think it's even built on that. That's what I think the delay is built on, and which is insane. Which is insane to me. I don't have the patience to plan that out, and so that's great. It's even, it's really cool. But
I always thought that was a good idea, and I never really followed up on it. Like, I made a bunch of those boards, and then I used some of them, and then like I actually did, most of them I didn't use. Like, I built them, and they're not in boxes,
Right. But then
I tried it, and I took something out and put something else in the box.
But this is the last thing I have for the updates section.
Yeah.
I went to an event today, and I was cold, but I needed a nice jacket. I pulled this jacket out, and in the pocket I found this, which I believe you gave to me. But now the problem is that all of this was a Dragonfly. Andy Carroll used to do a ton of Vero and PCB layouts. All of his stuff online is just gone. It's just not there anymore. And so now I've got this board, and I want to turn it into the Fuzz, because the Fuzz is really cool. It's the heavy Darling Fuzz. It sounds great. And I've been meaning to do it for years. And now I have this opportunity, and I have this board, and I haven't got the docks. I don't know what the layout is. So, but I thought that was really funny, because it says 2008 on it. That's how that's old. Yeah. So I got to figure that out.
Yeah. You know what you got to do is you got to use the Wayback Machine.
Tried that. The website that he had, Stefan, was like some, I don't know. There's schematics out there. So if I'm really smart and I want to spend hours, I could piece it out part by part and figure it out. But even like all the there used to be, I don't know if this is just something DIY Stompboxes did, but I know a lot of websites purge links older than 5 years. Like, they'll just delete links. Yeah. So, because I went back to the original Dragonfly posting where he said, "Hey, I just came up with this. Thought you guys might like it." And all the links are gone. And I think it's because a lot of the links, just if you had them there, would take you to some spam website where they'd try and hack your computer or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
what have you been working on?
Well, let me tell you, so I that's a good question. So I finished this Love Tone Doppelganger clone, and it totally works. So couple things, like it calls for a bunch of TL072 op amps, like 3 of them. And then there's 3 TL022 op amps. And I didn't have any of those, but I replaced them with the TL062. I feel like they'd work with any op amp really, but everything worked. So that was cool. And then I told you I had made those pedals like the Boss DS1, like I took the circuit out and I put something new in it. But this, I took the Boss DS1 circuit board, like one of these, and the footprint of it matches a 125B perfectly, right? So I cut the hole in the back for the jack. I used the electronic buffered bypass. So it's just like a momentary switch here, and it totally works. You know, it lights the LED too. So it's basically just the DS1 and a 125. I had an orange box too. So like it had to happen.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So I have 2 more of these circuit boards, right? So I actually yesterday, I drilled another 125B for the thing, and it fits perfect. Like you just pop it right in there and it just fits, you know, like boom.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do 2 more of these. And then I'm going to do some mods on the DS1. So those will be the modded version. So I got that. And then I got some circuit boards. I had them done at PCBWay in China, you know, and they finally came in the mail, but now I'm like waiting on parts to build them up. But I did the 22.7, you know, it's like a big muff, but built around the inverters instead of transistors by runoff groove. So I got a big stack of these. I'll send you, if you want one, I'll send you, I offered Kirk one, you know, so like I got 11 of these.
I'll do one.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Let's exchange some addresses, and then I'll send you a couple and you can build them up and we can talk about it, you know?
So what op amp is it running off? Is it the 074?
No op amps. It's the 4049 UBE.
Oh, so it's like a hex inverter or something, right?
Yeah, instead of transistors, every transistor is just replaced with the hex inverter.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's super cool.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
It sounds like a big muff, except like it kind of sounds a little bit different too. And it has a cool tone control. Like there's like, you see these 6 holes right there. You fit a DPDT switch, you know, like a double pole switch in there, right? And what it does is it has like the standard big muff mode, the flat mode, and then like kind of a mid hump mode. So the tone control, it doesn't sound like you flick the switch and you don't really hear much difference, but it just changes the dynamic of how you when you turn the tone control, like how it works, you know? So it's kind of cool in that way. And then I think it's cool because the big muff kind of, I don't know if you'd have this problem with not a problem, but just like you're using the big muff, and if the input is too hot, it kind of like over compresses, you know? So sometimes I turn the volume down on the guitar and I get a better sound. But this one, I think it doesn't do that because I think that inverters overdrive nicely. Does that make sense? You know?
Sure.
So that's pretty cool. They make another one too. They have the thing I sent you in the mail, the Ube Screamer, is like a tube screamer, but no op amps or transistors. It's all built around inverters. Right. And so that's what that is. Right. So I got those done. And then I made this. This is like another kind of big muff variation. It's the, what is this? This is the Haunting Mids Fuzz. Right. So I got a bunch of these boards too. So I'll send you one of these if you want. So I got these done. And then I got some ugly face PCBs too that I got made, you know?
Yeah.
Right here. So I got those all done. And that's what I was working on. Oh yeah, and the other thing. So yes, I'll send you guys some circuit boards. You should build them, and then we can talk about the wiring scheme, because I did them all with the same wiring scheme, right? So we can discuss that, because I kind of want to push that as like, I think that's the that should be the law of the land.
Standard.
That's just me. But the other thing I did is I built this, I used an Arduino, and I found this project that a guy has, and you can buy the circuit board or a built little box with some knobs on it. You know, it's actually not a box, it's just a circuit board with some knobs in the Arduino. And it uses this thing called a byte beat. So the byte beats are like a software expression that is just like, it's like comes up with like a mathematical pattern, and it just spits out bytes. Right. And if you send those bytes to your sound card, it makes audio, and you can write different formulas. So you can just write, it's just like a little mathematical expression, and you just write it, and then it comes up with different weirdo patterns. And so I built this thing with the Arduino. It's called the Glitchstorm. Here, I'll turn it on. I don't know if you can hear it.
Oh yeah. Great.
Right. Right, so that's just like one of the algorithms, right? So if I hit the button, it'll swap the algorithms, right? Right, so I switch the algorithm, then I'm just turning these knobs, and the knobs kind of control like values that are used in the formula. So it kind of changes the pattern. It just sounds like 8-bit kind of like, you know, old school video game music from the 80s or something, you know? But it's kind of a fun little thing. I got it on the breadboard right now, and I'm thinking like maybe I want to make either put it in a box, maybe it goes in a box, right? Or maybe it goes on a panel and into the synthesizer, you know, as the next step. But I'll have to make a circuit board for it. So that was the other thing.
That's super cool. I'll link to the video demos that you put up.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did a video, and then I did a couple YouTube shorts for it just for fun. I don't know why. You know, they're only like a minute long each, but then I was just turning the knobs and pressing the button and having fun. So, you know. So
that's cool.
That was this week's project, you know.
It's very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I you know, in a way, like I like the 8-bit kind of stuff, you know, like I kind of like it. I find it hard to work with musically, though I'm totally willing to listen to it. Like, so I don't know if I want to use it in music that I make, but I totally have fun playing with it. Or if someone else does a really cool thing with it, like I'm totally into listening to that, you know. Like there's some bands on Bandcamp that do that I'm into, but I don't know that I want to make music with it. But I had fun making the thing and getting it programmed, you know, with the computer, right, and then testing it out. So yeah, actually, you know, speaking of which, what kind of music are you guys listening to this week? Did you listen to anything?
That's a good segue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, do you have something that you?
Yeah, so this week I've been listening to a band called The Beths, and they have an album which is a couple of years old now called Future Me Hates Me.
Yeah, I like that.
And you like, yeah, you know this band?
Yeah.
So I don't know why, but I don't know. Last time we talked, it was all metal stuff and experimental. So I don't know why you would like this kind of stuff, but interesting that you do. So basically they're just a power pop band, like punk elements, but also, you know, they're from New Zealand, so they're kind of rooted in that sort of tradition of music from New Zealand that's very jangly and poppy, and it seems like there is the only place in the world where they're making music like this. And so I'm kind of late to the party on this band, but I saw Earthquaker did a video on them where they did a tour of their recording studio, and it was super interesting the way they approach the recording process. So I decided to look into their music and found myself like really enjoying it. It's almost a guilty pleasure for me because I'm not really a pop music guy. but it is kind of pop music, but with guitars instead of, keyboards or synthesis or however you want to frame it. But super fun to listen to. And I think the other thing that hooked me too is the lyrics are very funny. It's sad topics, but handled with the sense of humor that I expect from a Commonwealth country. I don't know how else to frame it, but like a lot of English music is like that, and a lot of Canadian bands are like that as well. It's this sort of attitude of bad things are happening. I'm handling it as best I can by laughing at myself.
That's the spirit.
Nice. They're on Bandcamp. I just found them, so I'm going to have to go listen to them.
I think we need to work on the sponsorship.
Yeah, I think so.
I just think Bandcamp is great, the service is good. And then I feel like the artists say that they're making money on Bandcamp for their music. Like, I'm like, I can support that,
Right. I mean, we're really promoting the artists rather than the platform, a bunch of my coworkers use Spotify, and you have to pay, I don't know, $15 or something just so you don't hear ads. Who knows how much of that money is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, your voice is dropping. It got kind of a little bit. Yeah, I totally agree. There's a bunch of businesses out there that are just really killing independent people. It's just like Grubhub. Like, I feel like they like tack on $1 or more on every restaurant order that you get, and it's like, on every dish you buy, they just tack on a huge service fee. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's just totally killing restaurants, and then it's like Spotify is doing the same thing with music. Like they use your music, and then they pay you a pittance for what they use, but they charge like the consumer like a monthly fee. So you're paying like a pretty good amount to use their service, and then the artist gets nothing, right? So I think there's too many companies like that, like Uber, like all those like, I don't know, delivery places, it's just terrible, right? But Bandcamp, on the other hand, like, I feel like artists say that they actually make money on Bandcamp, and so I can, and then they have that Bandcamp Friday thing. I don't know, like, I think it's okay.
I think they do a good job of encouraging the users to buy the album. Like, if you listen to it a few times on Bandcamp, then you might as well buy it.
Yeah.
Whereas Spotify is just like, keep paying your Spotify bill, and you can listen to this as many times as you want, and the band won't see any of that.
Yeah,
I think I definitely have the same feelings about all those companies you mentioned being incredibly exploitative of other people's labor. It seems like it's almost like the IP squatters. They rely on other companies for their money, and those other companies aren't making any money from them. And I think at some point there's going to be a reckoning, because how much, I mean, I know restaurants make no money on any of those food delivery services. They just don't. But they do it because they want you to come back to their restaurant, and they know that you will at some point if you can order it and enjoy it in your home. But just the drivers aren't getting paid very much. The restaurants aren't getting paid very much. And so at what point do you say, I can't support this business anymore? And I think that's the point I'm at. Like, somebody sent me a link. I really like a lot of music from African nations from the 60s and 70s. It was a really great time for those countries in general. They were modernizing, and they were getting funky, and they were making super original music. And so somebody sent me a playlist, a Spotify playlist with all these cool bands on it from that time period. And the music was great, but I just felt like I can't use Spotify. Like, I feel guilty even downloading it on my phone. And so I listened to the mix once or twice, deleted the app, and just tried to remember the band names and put them in on Bandcamp as best I can. So I can't support Spotify. I have a friend who his music is on Spotify, and I think he said that in order for him to buy a burrito, he would need about 2 weeks of solid play, 24 hours a day for 2 weeks, just to get a burrito. And I'm like, that's not how this works.
It's terrible.
You know? That's not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, it's the worst. Yeah, we got to stop that. So, you know, we got to just like, yeah, the change is starting here, man.
That's right.
Hey, what are you listening to, Kirk?
You know, I've been listening to a whole ton of shoegazy stuff. I think I brought something up last week. I don't remember what it was, but I mentioned it to one of my coworkers, and he brought up this band, Nothing, and they've got a couple songs on Bandcamp, but I kind of followed the thread, and I came across this band from Seattle called Photoform with a F, 2 F's in the name, and they're very cool. It's very it reminds me of Lush, which is one of my favorite bands from the 90s. And, you know, Slow Dive. It's very, very kind of standard shoegaze sound. And I think they might even have a video that was made by Pedal Partners, you know, that YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So check them out. I think they're very cool.
You said Nothing.
No, this is Photoform, but yeah, Nothing is cool too. But they only have a couple songs on Bandcamp for some reason.
I was kind of looking for them, and I found some looks like some metal band called Nothing.
Don't think there are multiple bands called Nothing.
Did you find The Nothing? I think there's a metal band called
there's
Nothing.
The Nothing, Cloud Nothings, Wild Nothing. Well, I'll look it up later.
Yeah, there's
a bunch of nothing.
Yeah.
There's a band from Philly called Nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna go if they're from Philadelphia. Oh yeah, I found them. They kind of, I guess it's this image makes it look kind of metal.
Yeah, they're wearing like garbage or astronaut suits or something like that.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, maybe this is them.
It's a good time to get back into shoegaze too, because this week was the 30th anniversary of My Bloody Valentine releasing Loveless.
Oh,
great.
So you're in right on cue.
Nice.
That music is timeless to me. There seems like there's a huge resurgence in interest in it on YouTube. You know, we mentioned Pedal Partners. I think they're kind of a rising star. And, there are a lot of bands that seem like they've listened to nothing but My Bloody Valentine. Like that's like the model. Like, you know, there's this kind of a pitch that, like Kevin Shields' voice, he always goes, you know, like he pitch bends his voice, all the time. And there was another band on my list that I'm not going to talk about multiple bands. I'll save something. They very much had, Fleeting Joys, I think it was. They're
cool. Well, I'm gonna have to go check them out. Send me a link to those guys, and I'll check them out.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you links to all that. I guess I could put links to all of this to the Bandcamp pages in the description.
Yeah, let's collect it. I think this is important. People need to find this music and listen to it, not on Spotify.
Right.
Yeah. This week, you know, I was really into Poly 6 a few years ago, and I kind of stopped listening to them, and then lately I just got them out, and I was listening to Poly 6 all week. You know, I really like Poly 6. The only thing that I don't like is it's really hard to get the music. They're just on Apple. You know, you can get it on iTunes, but you can't. They're not on Bandcamp, sadly. And then other than that, like you can get albums on Amazon or something like that, but really the rest of their music is all in Japan, and you can only buy it from a Japanese website, you know, and it's like everything's in Japanese, so you can't tell what it is, you know, and then they don't really have like digital downloads, or I can't tell because it's all in Japanese, you know.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I was listening to them today though, and I think they're great. They're like super good. They're super like weirdo new wave, like punk rock. I don't know what to call them. I think they're kind of original, you know.
They are pretty original. I mean, it's weird in this age that there's music that's still difficult to to locate. You know, it's so hard to get,
Yeah, I don't know
especially
what's up.
from Japan. Like, you know,
Yeah, I don't know what's up with those guys. I feel like they're big enough, but not that big. Like, you know, like I feel like they should be on Bandcamp, but they're not. And then they're not that big, but they kind of like, I think they make a living on the music, or like they do okay with it. You know, and then, you know, what was funny is I was looking at trying to check out their website recently to see if they had any new music, but it's all in Japanese. It's hard to understand. I tried to translate some of it, but then I was like, I saw a t-shirt and I thought like, I'm going to get a t-shirt. So I go to the site and it's all in Japanese and I'm trying to buy a t-shirt and I'm like, okay, that big M probably means a medium. And then I click it and then it gives me another page where it's like, choose an option. And then all the options are in Japanese. And I'm like, what am I buying? I can't, I got Jamie. Jamie speaks and reads Japanese. So I sent Jamie a text. I was like, Jamie, translate this webpage for me. You know, I don't know. So anyway,
like
so me and Jamie went back and forth. Like he was trying to help me out. But yeah, I had a good time. I was listening to them today. I took a walk for about an hour and just listened to Poly 6 the whole time, you know. It was good.
excellent.
Yeah. So anyway, so let's wrap it up. So anybody got any projects for this week? What are you going to work on?
I'm gonna clean my desk. I'm gonna finish my bass, and I'm gonna clean my desk. I know it's not spring, but I'm gonna do a full spring cleaning. I just feel like it'll aid me in, you know, doing these. I'm gonna get that PCB from you, and then I'll be ready to make some pedals on my desk.
Awesome.
Yeah. So for me, a friend of mine asked me to build him a Big Muff, and he asked me to put some kind of octave circuit in it as well. So that's why I'm trying to get the Green Ringer PCB located. It's just complicated enough that I didn't want to do a perf board layout for it. But so I'm going to be drilling the enclosure. If the weather holds, I'm hoping I can get it spray painted, because I have a bare enclosure and I have some primer that I think I can get on when it's pretty humid, but it's been pretty rainy up here. So it's just been moist and it's not ideal for spray painting in that weather. So I'm hoping to get the enclosure drilled this week. The PCB itself is populated for the Big Muff. I'm still waiting for the Green Ringer circuit to come in. So I'm kind of like doing the life pedal, but just without a rat, I guess, is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
hey, I got a question. Are you going to put the Green Ringer before the Big Muff or after the Big Muff?
So I'm going to put it after.
Okay.
But originally the plan was to put it in a really big enclosure like this and have one of the switches be to turn each of the pedals on, and this one would be to switch the order. But my guess is you'd get less use out of that than you would think you would. Like my philosophy is always, you know, when I have a pedal with all these switches on it, the likelihood is I'm going to pick one setting and I'm going to leave it there. I'm not likely to switch the order around. So I don't know if that's the right order. Is that what the life pedal does? Do they go rat into Green Ringer? I can look at the schematic. It's online. I can check it.
I forget. I think the octave comes first, but they don't switch the order. They just have you can just turn the octave on or turn it off, and then it has a mix control.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So mine will be foot switchable at least. So you can turn the octave on and off, and the distortion on and off. But then the only other thing he wanted was he sent me a picture of a Gundam, one of the bad guy Gundams, and he says, "Can you make it in these colors?" So now I have to find some like weird paint colors, and I guess it's super popular. It's such a popular hobby that the paint colors are pretty easy to find, but they're all in like they're not in spray can form. They're in like little glass bottles, so you can airbrush it yourself. I don't have an airbrush, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this paint, and the weather's going to be good enough to actually spray it. But he asked for it in this thing, and I'm like, okay, no problem.
Yeah. Your friend owes you a favor.
I know. I'm
Owe you a big favor.
I'm hoping that I'm hoping he wants to pay for it. He does just want it for free.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I'm gonna work on a few things. I think I'm gonna send you guys some PCBs. Send me your address. I'm gonna send you some PCBs. I'm gonna try and get these DS1s boxed up and then try and do some mods on the DS1. Because I've heard like the Keeley mods and some of the other mods, people say they're really good on the DS1, you know? So maybe that's gonna be a project. And then I made the doppelganger, but I actually, when I bought this, I bought 3 PCBs. I've been in this thing every time I do one, I do like 3. So I got 2 more of these to build. So now that I got this one working and I kind of confirmed everything's working, maybe I'm gonna get the other 2 going, you know. And then I have one more. I have one more of those life pedals that I have the PCB for it, but I need to drill a box and put it in the box. I sold one on Reverb, so I'll build another one up and then maybe put it on Reverb for sale, you know, because I have a spare. I built 3 a while ago and sold 2, and I had one that I keep, and then I thought I'd build a couple more, you know. So that's this week's projects, you know, and then maybe I'm going to consider that the Glitchstorm, maybe like try and plan a PCB for it, you know. So that'll be another thing. Actually, you know, speaking of the Green Ringer, I built one a long time ago, and there's some mods for it, and the mods were really good because I built mine with the mods, and one of the mods is a nulling mod. So essentially, like off the transistor into the octave section, there's 2, like you have a kind of a diode on the collector and the emitter, right? And if you get a little more like juice or a little more like current or voltage on one side than the other, then the octave isn't as prominent because, you know, half the waveform is a little stronger than the other instead of equal. So the nulling mod just puts like a little trimmer pot on one side, and you kind of can tune in the octave that way. It's not huge, but you can kind of tune in the octave a little stronger. And then another mod is a filter on the transistor at the beginning. So there's like a buffer before the octave section, and you put a couple caps on there with a switch to kind of get different tones out of it. And it worked pretty good. So I'd recommend looking that up and maybe using those.
Will do.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, why don't we wrap it up? It was great talking with you guys. We'll do it again, hopefully in the future. And yeah, I'll send you guys some PCBs to build, right? Just we can talk about those too for fun, you know. Maybe that'll bring up some discussion, you know.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
yeah, good luck with your projects, you know. Any final words from anybody?
No, I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you're watching, and I also want to thank you, Steve, for joining us again. I hope you'll be back again soon.
Hope so too.
Good.
Hope so. I hope I can be back as well. I'd like to say one final thing, which is just delete Spotify.
Yeah. You know. Okay. See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.